good.
Oh, it is. Oh.
Anyway, guys, proceed with precaution.
It is so good. Hey, Rose. Hi, and welcome to the SaVeg Podcast.
I'm Rose, also known as Cheap Lazy Vegan on YouTube.
And I'm Daniel, one of your favorite guest stars on Cheap Lazy Vegan's YouTube channel.
We're two friends who love to talk about the latest trending topics.
So get comfortable and join us while we give our SaVeg take on just about everything.
You are currently listening to the previous episode of this podcast, but if you would like to listen to this week's episode and get some exclusive content, go over to patreon.com/thesavagepodcast.
Hello!
Hey, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the SaVeg Podcast.
Welcome, Beak.
Welcome, Beak.
We're Beak. Today.
That sounds so weird, Rose.
We're Beak. I am from New Zealand.
Oh God. Okay, let's not punish our
Let's not
listeners
piss
so
off
early.
the Kiwi audience.
Yes.
With my shitty Kiwi accent.
This is true.
Oh, hello. Sorry. Okay, guys. Right now, I am watching my friend's dog. His name is Henny, and he has just walked in and joined us.
Yes.
But he's just over there.
He's chilling.
Yeah, he's chilling like a villain. Henny, come.
I don't think he
Oh,
wants to.
he's so cute.
Oh. He's gonna sit there and watch us.
Yes, he's a Shiba Inu, and he is very much like a big cat. He does not behave like what I'm used to dogs behaving.
It's so interesting.
He's super calm.
Yeah.
Ooh, he's okay. He's had enough.
Nope.
He's walking away.
He's like, no, you guys are good. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, he's like very calm and very just like doesn't give a fuck. Not super affectionate.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of like there.
But I definitely found that because one of our friends has a similar breed of dog, right? And
not exactly a Shiba, but like something similar.
Yeah, like kind of that same. I can't remember what her.
I don't know
what breed
either.
her dog
Yeah.
is, but again, like really chill. They're just like it's as if they're like. I honestly
like a cat.
But they're also it's just like they're stoned 24/7 because they're very just like
kind of.
And then you'll pet them. They love to get like pet and stuff, but they won't get excited. They're just kind of sit there like
yeah.
And like even when you come to the door, they don't like run and jump on you. They're just kind of like
they're very
honestly, I feel like that's what they
That's
remind
true.
me of me when I'm stoned. Don't want to get off the couch.
Yeah.
Want to eat all the time.
Yeah.
Not super affectionate when people run. Like someone could probably unlock the door and just come into my house.
Yeah.
I'll just lay there. So I feel like that's
oh Lord
that's how it's
Jesus!
dog.
Oh my God! Speaking of which, actually, before we jump in, we have a few new patrons.
We sure do.
Guys, if you do not know yet, we are on Patreon, patreon.com/thesavagepodcast. It's basically a little members only community where basically you get ad-free content, you get bonus episodes every single month just for the Patreon members, and you get every episode a week earlier than everybody else.
Yeah.
So we have 4 new patrons to
Wow.
shout out, and you also get a little shout out.
That's correct.
So let's say thank you to Shreya,
Katie,
Una,
and Jennifer.
woo! Welcome to the Patreon community, guys. Thank you so much for joining. And again, the link will be below in the show notes. If you guys are interested in joining Patreon.
Check it out, guys. Check it out.
What I wanted to say was, now I did not look into this, so I'm going to have to Google it right now.
Okay.
But apparently there's been like a new study about weed and the effects of weed. Which is quite interesting.
Like what kind of like negative or positive, Rose?
Well, let's see. New study.
I'm scared because, as somebody that recreationally partakes in the drug choice of Mary and Juana.
Okay, well, let me read the title and then you tell me what you think of the title.
Let's hear it.
Study offers concerning insight into how daily marijuana use can affect your heart.
God dang, what be wrong with my heart now?
So apparently using marijuana every day can raise a person's risk of coronary artery disease or CAD by 1/3 compared to those who never partake, a new study found.
Interesting.
A growing body of evidence suggests that cannabis is not entirely without harm and may actually cause cardiovascular disease. I was not expecting this because the thing is, I was probably expecting more so
like brain stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, like maybe it increases the likelihood of getting dementia.
I think that does
like
actually.
those kind of stuff.
There is definitely some brain risks.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm still like pro weed in a sense that I think it should be legal and there shouldn't be like repercussions for people like taking it, but it is. There's nothing that comes without risk.
Exactly.
Like there's definitely
it's a mind-altering substance. Exactly. It's going to come with some risk.
But I didn't know that it would be like a cardiovascular risk. But I guess I don't know. Let's see. So yeah, serious heart disease. Let's see. So coronary artery disease is caused by plaque buildup in the walls of the arteries that supply blood to the heart.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Signs of the condition, blah, blah, blah. So using once a month or less, a study pulled data on people participating, million people. So apparently participants completed a survey on their cannabis use, which is, surveys.
This is where it's a little bit.
The research team used that information to place those who responded into 5 categories: daily users, weekly users, monthly users, and those who used once or twice
a year,
once or twice in 3 months, and those who never used. So blah, blah, blah. And then they compared those categories with participants' medical records a few years later. But they did have a pretty big, like a million people. So this is what they used. Okay. And then they found that daily cannabis users were 34% more likely to be diagnosed with coronary artery disease than those who had never used. Okay. But rebuttal. I have a rebuttal.
You have a rebuttal.
My initial thought is correlation does not equal causation.
Yeah.
So we don't know. The thing is, if you're using, and like no shade to people that smoke every single day, weed, okay? But unfortunately, okay, there's a lot of things that are associated with daily marijuana use. Yep. If you're smoking every day, there's a chance that you are a little lazy. There's a chance that you're going to eat like shit.
This was going to be my rebuttal. Like, I'll wait till you're done and then I'll tell you what I was going to say. So it's like,
we don't know that, and I don't know, maybe there's more information later on in this article, but based on that alone is not an indicator that marijuana is the cause of you getting coronary artery disease.
Well, that was going to be my point too, because they were mentioning coronary artery disease. It's from a plaque buildup in your arteries, right? And we know, like science has proven, certain foods that are high in fats and everything, there's an actual direct link and relation. And where I was confused is I was like, how does smoking marijuana itself cause plaque? Is there some sort of thing that's in the weed that causes plaque to build up in your arteries? Now, if that's not the case, because I'm not seeing how something that you're smoking is causing that, but it could be, so I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But a big part of it too is I think you're right in a sense that just because the person smoking weed, there's other things that come with it, right? Like, and I think about myself, like if I get really stoned tonight, I will literally, if there's moments where I have self-control and there's moments when I don't. And when I don't have self-control, like we've even done it. We ate so much food that we were actually almost physically sick.
I was actually physically sick.
Yeah, Rose was actually sick. I was pretty much on the verge of barfing.
Yeah, it was bad.
But we just kept eating because it was so good and whatever. Yeah. And if you eat like that is going to cause your arteries to clog. Like you can't eat
but this is
properly
interesting.
Like that.
This is interesting.
Okay, let's hear it.
The results held true even after researchers factored out other potential causes of coronary heart disease, such as age, sex, major cardiovascular risk factors, such as high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, obesity, smoking, and alcohol use. But that still doesn't factor in how your diet plays a role. Yeah. Exactly. Like, munchies is pretty significant.
And also diet, like we know, I mean, there's been so many studies done about diet and the cause with heart disease, like plethora of studies.
Yeah.
And it's been proven, certain foods, certain fatty, like foods that are high in fat content, certain types of fat, all this kind of stuff. So like, again, where is the cause and the link?
I would also argue that, again, when you're smoking weed, often, okay, again, I'm not saying every weed smoker that smokes weed every day is going to be like this, but it makes you lazy and it makes you kind of,
and it does,
like,
it makes
very
you chill.
So you're probably not going to be going out for a run,
like a Shiba.
Like a sheep, you're gonna be like a Shiba. You're gonna be chilling. You're probably not gonna be doing like a bunch of physical activity when you're smoking weed all the time.
Exactly.
So that's more likely the case in my opinion. So again, like, and that plays a factor, right? If you're like, for example, like regular exercise is very, very good for your heart. So in opposite of that, if you don't do regular exercise, you may have heart problems or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that's another factor, is that you're probably, if you're smoking weed every day, the chance that you're going out for a run, you're doing stuff and you're exercising, eating right is lower.
Well, I can tell you right now, if I'm smoking weed, I'm not running. My only activity is laying on my couch watching TV or playing video games.
The fact is that people that smoke weed every day as well, a lot of people, they don't smoke it like we do, just like at bedtime. A lot of people that smoke weed every day, they smoke it all day every day. They'll smoke it multiple times, and so that's another factor. So and again, like if you're smoking it all day, every day, you're just going to be like chill all day, probably. But it does say this. Marijuana and the heart. Why does marijuana appear to damage the heart and blood vessels? Maybe this is going to prove us all wrong. First, it increases heart rate and blood pressure immediately after each use. Marijuana smoke also delivers many of the same substances researchers have found in tobacco smoke. These are harmful to the lungs and cardiovascular system. Blah, blah, blah. Basically, like, smoking, vaping, cannabis should be avoided due to risk of harm to the heart, lungs, and blood vessels. Apparently, that was warned by the American Heart Association. So there could be some level of actual
direct causation,
but I'm not convinced fully. Other research has shown smoking weed has triggered heart attacks and leads to a higher risk. Okay, so another rebuttal. Okay, I think also, again, it may, like, again, if you already have issues with your health, right? Like, let's say you already have heart problems and you smoke weed and all of a sudden it increases your heart rate significantly, blah, blah, blah. Then yes, you may have a heart attack. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if somebody that's healthy has a little weed, you're probably going to be fine. Anyway, who knows? Proceed with precaution.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the cliche saying, like, everything in moderation.
Yes.
And I feel like it's the same with cannabis use. It's like, you know what, if you're gonna be using it every single day, probably not the best for you. Like, you know what I mean? It's like I feel like it's almost like doing anything every day except for obviously like drinking water, because that's
exactly.
like good for you.
And
but
even
like
water you could drink too much.
Exactly. You could go overboard.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, and same with exercise. If you exercise every single day, all the time, like you're going to damage your body. Like anything outside of like moderation or kind of like, you know, listening to your body and all that kind of stuff. Like I think there's nothing wrong with smoking weed a couple times a week or whatever. But like I do feel like if you're doing it every day,
we love a little.
It's nice.
THC.
It relaxes me. It chills me out before bed. Everything
be
tastes
tasting so good.
Oh god damn!
It's a little too good.
Oh my god, I don't understand why. I mean, I do understand,
but why? What is like something happens?
It's like I just feel like weed just heightens your like pleasure senses.
Like
in
many ways.
In many ways, so like, you know, certain things are more fun with a little bit of. You know?
It's so good.
Oh, it is. Oh.
Anyway, guys, proceed with precaution.
It is so good. Hey, Rose. Spoken from true experience.
I'm talking about food, Daniel. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay.
But yeah, I feel like because like I don't know, it's because it just heightens like everything. Things taste better, things feel better. Like, you know, when you get into your bed and your
sleep is so cozy.
Oh my god, you get into your blanket and you just feel like you're like floating on the clouds.
But also, I sometimes scare myself often because my brain just cannot. My brain can't.
Really?
Because my brain's just like, I have a thought. And then immediately after, I forget exactly what I thought about.
Right. It's like I was watching, like, if you watch a movie or something.
Yes.
It's like it's interesting because you get really into the movie and you're like into it, right? Like you're so into it, and then like a minute later, like
you're like, what just happened?
Like how did these people get on this train?
I think I would be more scared of the brain effects.
Yeah.
You know, like for example, they've said, I don't know if this is like fully proven, but they've said that people that are more likely to have like schizophrenia or something, if they smoke weed, then it will trigger it more.
This is true. So like whenever people have like a psychotic break or anything like that, one of the first questions that they would ask, the doctors would ask, is around drug use.
Oh, that's really drug use or marijuana use?
Both. Well, I mean, marijuana is a drug.
Yeah.
So
yes,
and you're right, because there are some elements of, you know, like I haven't personally got it from marijuana, but maybe from some other drugs. But
from other drugs, of course.
I know, but
it alters your brain.
It does. But I've never had like on weed. I've never had on like, thankfully, a really paranoid experience.
Oh, really?
But I have had that on other substances.
Oh, I've been paranoid on weed for sure. That's why I don't like to smoke weed when I'm out.
Yeah.
Like I definitely want to be at home in the comfort of my home.
Right.
Where I know there's a bed there.
Or out in the wilderness, Rose.
I really don't like it.
Maybe when we go camping.
Maybe some shrooms.
God, that's legal now, isn't it?
Is it legal? I saw it's a fucking plant.
I saw a TikTok and someone was saying mushrooms are legal in Canada now, but I don't know because I feel like we would have heard about it.
Okay, guys. As far as I know, it's legal. So, guys, let's get into Well, technically it's the second story because I guess we just added a story.
But also, this is probably our favorite topic to discuss.
Yes.
And this just exactly.
Single rights, okay?
Yes.
Single people rights and our rights to be like, what? Like, anyway. Okay, so I found this article. On social media.
Rose told me about this. Yeah.
Yes.
Because it came up on your TikTok or something,
It came
right?
up on my Instagram or something. And I was like, what? Because at first I was like, it didn't make any sense.
Yeah,
and then we like talked about it. We were like texting about it. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I'm mad.
Yeah.
So
what are we talking about, Rose?
So we're talking about how long it will take singles versus couples to save for a home in Canada. So this is an article by curiosity.com. And it says, basically, okay, guys. So the nationwide average, okay, guys, prepare yourselves. Okay, if you are single, you will be angry.
Yeah,
the nationwide,
get your glass of wine ready.
The nationwide average to save enough for a starter home is now nearly 4 years for couples and close to 29 years for single people. When looking at covering the difference between the home price and the mortgage, putting away 20% of their income. Let me just pause for effect.
It's crazy.
Absolutely. And I was like, how does that even make sense?
Yeah.
Because like, I don't know. Maybe I was just like, I didn't think about this that much, right? Because obviously we've complained about singles tax or whatnot.
Right.
And we, we're like, okay, it kind of sucks because if you live on your own, like you can't split the bill with anybody.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of paying for all of it. So essentially we're paying double.
Yeah.
But that's not even it, right? Because if you think about it, like it's crazy. So let's say I, as a single person, earn $4,000 a month. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know, let's say my fucking expenses are like, like $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
So I'm putting away $2,000, saving $2,000, spending $2,000. Yeah. But let's say I am in a couple.
Yeah.
And we both earn the exact same amount. So
we both earn
$4,000.
Yeah.
So that's $8,000. And let's say we live together and let's say our expenses, because we're, two people.
Yeah.
Let's be very generous and say it was $3,000, even though I don't even think it would be that much more.
Exactly.
Because, usually the biggest expenses are like what? Like rent, gas, electricity,
water,
all that
utilities.
stuff. Which it's not really going to like double because there's two people.
Double.
Either way. So let's say it's like 1.5 times the expenses. So $3,000 for two people every month. That means they're putting away $5,000, which is $3,000 more than me.
Which you're not also factoring in too, which is another important element, is the power of and I think your comparison is a good one, just like financially wise. But I think it's even more drastic in a sense that the single person wouldn't be saving $2,000; they'd probably be saving like a lot less, like even less.
Why?
Versus the couple, because like anything that you're doing, it's like. Again.
Oh, right. So you're saying that I'm being too generous with I'm being too conservative with the single.
Exactly. Because right now you're saying, okay,
I'm trying to be as fair as possible.
Exactly. They're saving $5,000. The single person's saving $2,000. So you can see right away, it's taking a lot more time for that person that's single. It takes actually three times the time. So in that example, it might take the couple 3 years and the single will take nine years. Using the same metrics, right? So that's literally 6 years more. And this is a conservative one because
we're being conservative.
They're saying close to 29 years. So the gap is 4 to 29 years. Oh my God. So what that means though.
Okay, let me just read this. What the actual fuckery is this?
Yeah.
3 to 75 years is how much time a buyer on a single income would need to cover the difference between the affordable bank loan and the starter home price in Canada's 70 cities. 3 to 75. What are you talking about? Anyways, okay, so assuming that a starter home, which I mean, this is very generous.
This is I don't know where
not
that
generous.
is.
It's a very conservative number. $328,573.
Where?
I don't know, in buttfuck nowhere, Manitoba. Like, who is paying for a starter home? Like, this is not a condo.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, you can't even get a condo for that price in cities. So that's, I mean, I guess that's factoring in literally like small towns everywhere. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, very, very, very conservative number of $300 and something $1,000. Individual median income, so 40,000
for a single person,
and then couple 87,000. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, again, we're taking median incomes here.
Yeah.
And then so time needed to save, apparently,
But that's what they're probably doing here when they did this calculation. I'm guessing is so you have the single person earning 40,000, let's say, a year. The couple's earning almost 90,000 a year. Quite a lot more. And then
these are median incomes.
And these are median. And then what they're probably factoring in is what is the average cost of living for an individual versus a couple?
Yes, exactly.
And once you factor that in, the amount the individual is able to save is so much less. And then you also have to factor in like a number of other factors like compounding interest, all of this kind of stuff.
Everything. Yeah. Exactly. Because the more you have saved, the more you can earn.
Well, and also factor in this. Maybe the calculation didn't factor in this as well. If you're the individual saving by yourself, and something happens that you need a lot of money for.
Yes.
It comes out of your savings. Not like two people earning and say, hey, maybe we don't save this month, but we can just like pay for it ourselves with our salary.
And if you were single, and I don't know if they factored in like kids or anything like this, but if you're like a single mom and you don't have another person to help take care of the child, childcare is another factor. Yep. The more like you're going to have to pay for extra things that, you didn't think about.
Yeah. That's like insane. It's insane that it's like
believe this number.
It's kind of crazy.
Like, guys, we're talking again to let this sink in. For singles, 28 years and 8 months. Couples, 3 years and 9 months.
But let's also just factor this in, guys. Here's more food for thought as to how fucked up the situation is.
25 years extra if you're single.
Yes. But also, Rose, that's assuming the house prices don't change.
Right.
So by the time the single person has saved for 28 years and 8 months, they could afford a house that was $328,573. However, now the average price is $1 million.
Oh God.
And you're fucked.
And now you're going to need another 25 years.
Yeah. So basically it's just like never going to happen for you.
Well, I mean, we bought. So we should be proud of ourselves.
I think so. Yeah.
As single people, we are independent women.
Cheers. I think it does help that we're quite a lot above the median income though.
Yes, we are above the median income for sure. Yeah.
Like if we were both
working,
pretty low. That is low. If we were both working minimum wage jobs or even jobs that pay us $40,000 a year, like we probably wouldn't be.
That's really low.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really fucking low.
Yeah, but it's a reality. That's the median income for a single person in Canada.
Right. So that means, okay, so then it's fair that the home price is $300 because they're obviously like factoring in, again, the different places in Canada and all of the factors.
But when you start to extrapolate that to specific to cities, so like Toronto, for example, when the average house price is it does it for you.
Top cities where it's fastest for both singles and couples to save for their starter home. Strathcona County, Alberta. What the fuck?
No idea where this is.
That's in our province, and we don't even know where that is. So apparently the starter home is half the
composite.
The composite?
What does that even mean?
Is that like, I don't know what that means. Anyways, so yeah.
What does it say here? I want to see the gap just increases the further out you go. These are all just like smaller places.
So, apparently, guys, if you want to live in Canada and if you want to buy a house, you can buy it in Strathcona County, Alberta, which...
Where is that?
I don't know. There's probably nothing there.
Also, Edmonton, Alberta's on the list. Apparently, it's a little bit more affordable there, I guess.
I guess so.
Thunder Bay. Yeah. Quebec City.
Oh, Quebec City. Should we move to Quebec?
Maybe we should.
That's kind of surprising, actually.
Oh, cities with the biggest gap. Oh, my God. I don't even think I want to see this.
Okay, guys, cities with the biggest gap. So basically the biggest difference between singles and couples, right?
Yep.
Yes. So number one, Richmond Hill, Ontario.
Yep.
So, okay. So for couples, guys, they can save for like a starter home. They can save in 26 years and 9 months. If you are single, 74 years and 9 months. What the actual hell? But does that factor in, do they factor in the median income though within that region?
No, I think they do because I think
I don't know if they do.
Oh, maybe they don't.
I think that's actually based on the national median income, which is a little bit unfair because obviously depending on where you live,
you might make a bit more. Yeah. But I mean, it's not substantial, Rose. I mean, it will make a difference to the calculations, but I don't think it's like,
Anyway, guys, so basically,
oh my God, it's insane.
What do we do?
Government needs to help single people.
Yeah, fuck. There needs to be a fucking subsidy. Or we need more, communal, living. Like we need something.
Well, part of the issue, guys, with this whole situation, right? Like there's many places or in reality, in the past, it had been like, there was a big debate around renting and buying, right? They were saying, okay, if you buy, and I think the debate still goes on, but the metrics have changed so much because it used to be, okay, if you buy a place, you get the benefit of like, building equity and all that kind of stuff. But you also have a lot more like expenses in terms of like if anything goes wrong in your house or like property tax.
Boy, do we.
Yeah, or any of those things. Whereas the renters, they could have been just as well off as someone that bought a house if they had like saved the difference of what the homeowners are reinvesting into their property, right?
They could even have more.
Exactly. There was this whole thing. But now what's happened is the rents have gotten astronomical. So because of that, they're actually the people that are renting now. Before, maybe they could save more money than those that owned the houses. Now they're just fucked.
Well, I mean, you could say the same thing about buying houses.
True.
Because houses are so expensive now.
Well, and people's mortgages will be super high.
Exactly. Well, so I think it's kind of like the rent's going up because mortgage rates have gone up. The housing market's insane, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it all kind of like is connected.
Do you know what they say too? Like, and again, I'm always usually a proponent of immigration and everything, but someone was saying that part of the problem that Canada's facing right now is because over the last couple of years, we've really like, there used to be certain obviously caps on the amount of immigration that was coming in. And they I think our government like lifted it and had like tons more people moving in, and they're not building houses at a fast enough rate. So there's becoming this discrepancy.
I mean, I don't know how much that could be partially true, but I think that people are blaming it's always every time anything happens in a country, it's always blame the immigrants, blame the immigration, blame the refugees. But really, and again, I'm not saying that doesn't have any factor. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is are all the immigrants buying up all the homes? No. The fact of the matter is these corporations, these investors, real estate investors, and not just immigrants, but like foreign investment into like places like Vancouver, for example. Yeah. You think that was immigrants that bought up all the fucking expensive homes and like made it expensive? Yeah, some of them, but a lot of it was just foreign investment and just no caps and no regulations on how much people could buy and how much people could like do in these real estate markets. Yeah,
I think that's a big part of it. I think the biggest part is not even the foreign investment, because I remember a stat that said like, because Canada put a cap on, or they actually stopped foreign investment for like 2 years of foreign buyers like buying properties here because of this issue. But people were saying, like, I was watching this thing and they were arguing like, actually foreign buyers or foreign investment is only a small part of the problem, and they make up like, I think it was like, I don't know, I think the stat was around like 10% of the real estate market, where the lion's share was like corporations, like exactly. So like real estate, because there's like vehicles like real estate investment trusts and all these like things where the underlying asset is actually real estate that these companies are buying, or these investors are buying up. And using it to grow money. So I think you're right.
It's investing. Yeah. That's the biggest problem. It's people viewing housing
as an investment,
as a way to make money and get rich.
Well, that's why
it's not the immigrants that are coming from like fucking, India and Korea. Like, I don't think that's a big part of the problem at all, but who the fuck knows? Maybe I'm completely wrong.
I think we need to see a breakdown of property ownership, but I do agree. I think and also the fact that there is no cap, right? Like, so if I was a wealthy person, like if I won the lottery, for example, let's just pretend I won the lottery today, I could go out there and I could start a huge real estate portfolio and no one could stop me. Like, it's within the realm, I'm allowed to do it, which, some people will say, okay, good for you, good job, you're going to make money that way. Sure. But also I'm taking all of those properties for myself.
Yep. And then you can and then that jacks up the prices and all of these things. And I don't know, like, how many new immigrants to Canada are buying up homes immediately? Like, I know my family, we didn't buy a home until like a few years after we had moved. Yeah. And it was not like an expensive home, like, and my parents were relatively well off as immigrants, but like a lot of people are not coming, like fucking loaded. And I mean, some people are, but some people aren't. Like, I don't know. I would like to see the numbers. I
just think the big problem is whether owning or renting, like housing needs to be affordable. Like, that's the end of the day. If you're, if you know what, if we're in a society where like renting is a norm and there's like a big like proponent to rent, that's great. But then there needs to be rent controls in place or something to say, hey, you're not allowed to like blow your rent out of the water,
Yeah. Oh God. Now I'm curious. Linking immigration. Okay, I just found a random article. Linking immigration to the housing shortage may be missing the problem, experts say. Yeah. which is basically what we just said. Canada now has more than 2.5 million non-permanent residents, blah, 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 with rising rents and housing prices making it increasingly hard to find an affordable place to live. Some are pointing the finger at Canada's record level immigration rates. Immigration is not the only thing putting a strain on the housing market. Again, I'm not saying it's not at all putting it. High interest rates, increasing building costs and red tape at the municipal level can slow down or halt home construction are all part of the picture. But to tackle the pressure being created by immigration, some are now openly discussing forging a public policy link between how many people in Canada takes in each year, blah, 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 blah. Let's see. We have to bring the immigration numbers in line with the number of houses that are built. The growth in immigration should not exceed the amount of housing stock we add. Okay. Anyway, I guess people are just... Anyway, it's nuanced.
There should also be like rules and stuff, like I don't know. There should be some controls in place because there's people out there, individual investors, for example, that have a portfolio of like 75 properties themselves.
This is what I mean. I think that is the bigger problem. It's like people should not be able to hoard properties. Yeah. And yet that's what's happening. And we're going to blame the fucking, again, not saying it's not at all partly to blame, but to allow people to just hoard properties and make millions of dollars just from buying houses.
And this was ironic too, because a lot of the people that claim, or landlords, and again, I don't know what situation all the landlords are in, but one of the biggest things is how like the interest rates have gone up and rents have subsequently gone up, because obviously, well, especially if you're on a variable mortgage, your rate does go up if your interest rate goes up, right? However, there's a lot of people and landlords that are, number one, mortgage free. Or number two, are on a fixed rate, fixed term mortgage. So they're on like a 5-year locked in. And if they're not up for renewal for a while, there's no reason for them to increase rent.
Right.
But they do it with everyone else.
Because the market's increasing the rent.
Exactly. Because they're like, well, the increased costs and increase this. And it's like, but if your costs haven't gone up, why are you gouging your renters? Like, I don't know. It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
And like, we could probably build more affordable housing and all of these things, but it's not making money. Anyways. Okay, so next story. Your favorite person, Jon Stewart.
Ooh.
So Jon Stewart, guys, I'm sure you guys know of him. He was the host of what is called The Daily Show, which is kind of like a comedy / political discussion show.
Right.
And Jon Stewart, I think he hosted it for years, and then he retired, or
didn't he have his own show for a little while?
Yeah, and then he kind of got off it for a while, but he was kind of still in the limelight, and he started kind of coming back into the political sphere, and he started doing some really good interviews that Daniel loves.
I'm obsessed.
And so he got back on The Daily Show recently, which was, I think it had like record, viewership and all this stuff, because like a lot of people really like Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
And so he is quite like left leaning, and he criticizes like everyone essentially.
Yeah.
And so he did this segment, which I just listened to today, where basically he's like talking about how basically the two presidential candidates that are most likely going to be the presidential candidates, which are Trump and Biden, are old as fuck.
I know.
Which is what we talked about.
It's concerning. Like, if you have somebody that's like 85 years old running and becomes a president, it's like there's a legitimate concern how long they're going to physically be able to run.
Exactly.
Or like run the country.
And it's not even just about the age, like we just discussed. Like, they are, Trump is also a little bit, cognitive. He's... One could argue that he was never cognitively there.
And how is he able to fucking run? I still don't understand. He had like government charges against him.
I don't know. It's like America.
What is going on down south?
I don't know. But so Biden, again, he's losing his mind, forgetting where he is, like whatever the fuck.
God.
So Jon Stewart made this, did a segment. It was a bit comedic. And he said this one thing that was so, I like literally laughed out loud. He's basically like, if these two get up as presidential candidates, this would be record breaking, and they would be breaking the record on their own previous record, as in they were the ones that set the record for being the oldest presidential candidates or whatever.
Yeah.
And now they would only be breaking their own record because they're old as fuck. And we've never seen such old as fuck presidents. Like, I'm sorry. And then The View. You guys know The View?
Yeah.
Do you like The View?
I view The View in a certain way.
In a certain way.
Yeah.
It's like basically now it's just,
I think The View used to be good, but I feel like
it used to be entertaining.
Yeah, I feel like now it's kind of like, I don't know.
They are just kind of, whatever. So they flipped out apparently over Jon Stewart's Biden criticism, and they were saying how it's ageism and that it was offensive to octogenarians, which I assume are people in their 80s.
Yes.
So I guess he was away for 9 years. That's pretty crazy. So apparently they complained that it was offensive and ageist. Guys, it's not about ageism. Okay? It's about, like, for example, do we have 60-year-olds in the NFL? No, because they cannot fucking play like regular, like, young people.
Yeah.
That's not ageism. That's just like being competent to do your job.
Exactly. And it does have to do, guys, like with our
Can't believe we have to talk about this.
With our bodies, right? Like we're on this planet for a finite amount of time, right?
Yes.
And we're not saying, like, I'm not saying somebody that's like in their 80s couldn't, like, you know, like my granddad was like running in his 80s and like doing stuff. Like you can still do certain things, but like, again, like you're not competing in an NFL. You're not, doing certain things that require your body to be at a certain level. And also with age comes a lot of different factors, dementia, your memory loss, all this kind of stuff, which is great. You know, things to look forward to, Rose.
Yeah, stop.
But at the end of the day, too, it's like it is concerning when people are, you know, quite old. But then I guess I don't know. It's crazy.
So during his Monday night broadcast, Stewart described Trump and Biden as similarly challenged when it comes to questions about their mental fitness and advanced age, noting that they are by far the two oldest candidates to ever run for the White House, while noting that Biden has lost a step and ridiculing the president's latest blunders, especially in the wake of a special counsel report that depicted Biden as an elderly man with a poor memory. Stewart also noted that Trump and Biden are not the same. So basically what he said essentially is like, Trump is worse. He definitely said, like, he kind of like said Trump is worse, he basically was like, we need to beat Trump. Like, we can't have Trump as president. Yeah. But Biden is really not the best candidate to beat Trump, which is what everyone's talking about, except for these people that are just like living in their own deluded land.
Yeah. Well, he even goes on to say here, and he's talking about Biden, he hasn't been indicted as many times. He hasn't had as many fraudulent businesses or been convicted in a civil trial for sexual assault or been ordered to pay defamation or had his charities disbanded or stiffed a shit ton of blue-collar tradesmen he's hired. I'm like, the fact that he's even talking this about the old president, Trump, and the fact that Trump is in the running after fraudulent businesses, civil trials for sexual assault, defamation cases, indictment. How the fuck is this guy able to run? I don't understand. Somebody explain it to me. Like,
I don't
please.
get it. Well, the thing is, if he gets actually, like, did he get convicted?
I don't know if he was like fully convicted, but he's had fraudulent businesses. He was convicted in a civil trial.
I think he had fraudulent businesses even before he ran for the president first
time. Of course.
But we're talking about a man that like essentially, allegedly committed election fraud.
I know.
And he's going to run for president again.
Yeah. That's what's so crazy. There was a meme, and I think I've talked about this meme before. And again, I apologize to all of our American friends because we have a lot of friends down in the U.S.
We do love you.
We love you guys.
Anyone that listens to our podcast, we love you.
Yes.
You are not the Americans we're talking about.
But basically, there was this meme, and I've talked about this before in the podcast, but I want to re-bring it up to your guys' vision or your minds. It's like a picture of like a house. And Canada is the top and the U.S. is like the basement. And it's like, we really like our neighbors. They're the fun people that live in the basement. But sometimes we just feel like we're living above a meth lab. Like, we don't know what's going to happen down there.
Yeah, something's going to explode.
Something's going to happen. And I don't know.
I know. I just don't know. It would be funny if it wasn't so scary.
But I'm just like shocked because, if I, for example, thinking about any other company, pretty much, like if I had criminal charges on my own as my own person, if I had run a fraudulent business, I've been convicted of sexual assault, I'd have a record, all this stuff. You can bet if I started applying for jobs and in corporations and stuff, I would have a hard time getting a job. Yeah. Because they would see that I've had these charges.
And you're not even applying to be the president of the United States.
Exactly. With the company I'm working for now, I had to do criminal check.
Yeah.
I'm like, and if I had a huge criminal record or things like this, I probably wouldn't have been hired. So how the fuck is he running for president, Rose?
I don't know. How are they both running for president?
Make it make sense.
Make it motherfucking make sense.
Somebody please, guys. I just I can't.
Oh my God. I actually cannot. And like to say that it's ageist is so beyond just, you are not thinking at all. Okay. Yeah. We're talking about one of the most powerful people in the world.
Yes.
That's the position.
Yeah. And I think also, like, again, not to try to be ageist, but you have to think here, like, this sounds terrible, but like once you hit your 80s, guys, like realistically, how much more time you got left?
Not much time left.
Unfortunately, the reality is your average age of each country, and I think the US, it's probably not that much higher than 80 itself.
Pretty sure 80 is already above the average lifespan in the United States.
So you're making decisions or helping make decisions for a country where you might not be around to see the impacts of what your decisions are. So how much easier is it for you to make decisions to be like, oh, I don't fucking care. Like, I'm not going to be here. Not saying that that's what they do, but I'm like, if you have to make a choice and you're not even going to be impacted by that choice,
oh my God,
really, you're going to be like, okay, cool.
I actually cannot.
I know.
I cannot. Guys, this is a joke at this point.
It is, yeah. So what did the View have to say about?
Well, basically, they're saying that like
ageist.
Because like they're saying, oh, Trump is bad, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we know Trump is bad.
Yeah.
Basically, okay, so they said the stakes are so high. So Joy Behar directly compared Russian President Vladimir Putin to Adolf Hitler, claiming that Trump victory will lead to young Americans getting drafted to fight in a large-scale war caused by Russia. Okay, here's the thing. We are against the Trump presidency. Like, how are they not understanding this? Like, what people are saying is, if Biden runs, you know, being as like old and dementiaed as he is, or whatever the hell is happening, the chance that he's going to win against Trump is low.
I know
that's
that's the scary thing.
Saying.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is we can't have someone like Biden running against Trump. We got to have someone else because like that. He's saying the same thing. Like nobody is saying, oh yeah, like we want Trump to be president.
Yeah.
Like what? How do you not understand it? Ugh. Anyways, so apparently like they're saying, they basically said that he's ageist and blah, blah, blah. One of the hosts said, I love that Jon Stewart is back, but what's so offensive to me is that there is a difference between age and intelligence. There's a difference between age and vitality. Oh yeah. How vitalized, what's the word? How much vitality does Joe Biden appear to have?
Well, this is it.
Like, he looks like he's about to faint every time I see him.
Oh God, I know. And again, he's in such a powerful position. Like,
why is he not on a beach sipping a margarita, just enjoying his life? I don't understand.
Again, another make it make sense moment for me. And we've talked about this a million times in the podcast. Okay, you got money. Okay, you're old.
You've
worked
president.
your ass off your whole life.
You've been president.
You've been president already. Why are you not on a fucking beach or spending time with your family? Like,
go do something fun.
Guys, our years are precious here.
I don't get it.
If I can and I can afford to, I'm probably going to try to retire early. Like, I am not going to be working and doing all this shit and like running this crazy life up until my like 80s. I hope I don't have to do that.
Yes.
Like, I want to enjoy you. Like,
oh my God.
Especially like when you're older, but you're the young old age. You know what I mean? Like you're in your 60s and even your 70s. Like, go fucking travel. Go spend time with your grandkids or your family or your friends. Like, I
know. And then they said, the problem with this country is that we don't value seniors, which sparked a loud applause from the pro-Biden studio audience. Guys, okay? We're not saying we don't value seniors. We are saying we don't need someone that is about to is showing signs of early dementia to run a country that is the most powerful country in the world. Yeah. Like, make it make sense. Mm-hmm. This does not make any fucking sense.
It's crazy.
Ugh. Anyways, moving on.
All
right. Daniel's story. Would you like to lead the way here?
So apparently,
oh my God!
Apparently, this man and guys, the reason I want to talk about this story is I also watched.
This is an old story, Daniel.
Yeah, it's old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's just like come up to the limelight. I saw it on TikTok.
So this is a few years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is old, and the reason I want to talk about this is because also there's a newer Netflix show, but it's also based on an old story.
Okay.
But anyway, woman allegedly texts man 159,000 times after one date. And apparently one of the texts was, I'd make sushi out of your kidneys.
You know what we call that, Daniel? A stage 5,000 clinger. Lord Jesus.
So apparently they met on a dating site, and basically they went on one date, and she had sent this man 159,000 text messages over a 10-month period.
There's a lot of questions. There's a block button, sir.
I know.
Why I don't understand how this is even possible.
So I don't know this story, right? So
okay. Let's read it here.
Hang on, let's just see.
So Jacqueline Claire Addis, who was accused of stalking the man by breaking into his home, was arrested in May. So basically, apparently she had sent, at the time, authorities alleged she had sent 75,000 texts, which is already insanity.
A lot, yeah.
Only after one date. But police documents made public on Friday show that she had sent allegedly a lot more messages, essentially like more than double that amount.
Yeah, they're saying that she's probably suffers from some mental health, all this other stuff.
I'm sorry, you think? You think?
So the reason I wanted to bring this story up, though, guys, is there's a new show or movie. It's like a docu-movie.
Docu-series or a show?
Show. It's just like a movie. It's like a...
Docu-series.
But it's not a series. It's like a...
A documentary, Daniel?
Documentary, yeah. Thank you. So there's a documentary... And because initially when I saw this story, I think it came up on my TikTok or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is
you
fucking... You
sent it to me, yeah.
I know. I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. Like, what is going on? How does somebody do this? Again, I thought about the number blocking and everything. So there's a Netflix show called Lover, Stalker, Killer. And it's about this guy. I'm not going to go too much into it. This poor guy that...
Oh, I know this story.
Yes. And
I know this story because you know me in the true crime.
Yes. You'll know about it because
I know exactly which story.
So
the guy that went on a date, that met this woman.
Yeah.
And then he wanted a casual relationship.
Yes.
And they were sleeping together, blah, blah, blah. And this woman started becoming a little bit, like... Blah, blah, blah.
Well, there's a couple women in the story.
Yes.
And I initially don't know what's going on. I'm not going to ruin it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But long story short, the woman that was stalking him, right? She was sending him text messages. And he said basically what he was doing is... at first, they're coming in from her original number. So he blocked her. He blocked her number.
Sure.
But then she just changed her number. And she kept changing numbers and changing numbers and kept texting him. And then she'd email him. And so he would block the emails, but then she'd create a new email address and email him again. So she would keep. So I think probably what this person, I'm guessing at some point, if you're getting these crazy texts like I'm gonna make sushi out of your kidneys, or I'll wear your fascia in the top of your skull and your hands and feet. That doesn't even make sense. You would block that person, right? But what I think happens is, again, they just keep getting new numbers and keep blowing you up.
Would you change your number? I would change my number.
I think at that point I would, yeah. Because I think I would change my number. I'd change my email address.
I would probably, that's
I'd be like,
scary.
fuck this shit.
Stalking is scary.
Exactly. Especially nowadays, I feel like the thing is, I don't actually know anybody's number off the top of my head. So if Rose, you change your number tomorrow, I'd be like, hey, cool, I'll just update my contact. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, this person has because back in the day, we used to have everybody's phone number memorized.
Right.
So that would be different because then you're like, oh shit, people aren't going to know my number. But now nobody knows anyone's number. So what difference does it make?
Exactly. So you just have to be like, hey, I changed my number. Here's my number to the people that you actually want.
Exactly. To have my contact. So.
My God. But now it's stalking's fucking scary.
I know. That particular story, I watched the documentary and I was like, oh my God, I felt so bad for this poor man. His life.
Also, I'm sorry. I know this story, so I can say this. And again, I do feel bad for him. He is a victim in this scenario. Well, one of the victims. But I'm like, did you really not catch on a little bit? Because there's a twist, you guys, to the story.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did you not catch on? Come on now.
Yeah.
Are you that stupid? Are you that dense? What's going on?
Yeah.
There's something wrong with that man.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely also something, again, not to blame him because there's someone else that's definitely the villain.
Yeah. Definitely the fucking villain.
It's absolutely insane. It's actually a really sad story.
It is. You know what blew my mind though? It's it's so dumb. I'm watching the documentary, right? All this shit's going on. All this text messaging and emails, all this bullshit. And then a year goes by and the case kind of goes cold. A year goes by, or maybe it's almost 2 years, and this new detective team is like, we want to take on this case.
Yeah.
We're gonna do some more investigation. The first thing they do when they take on this new case is they get an IT analyst to look at the IP addresses and stuff. And
essentially, you're saying they never did that before.
No. In the very beginning, I was the whole time I was literally watching it, and I was screaming at the TV because as soon as they did that, they started narrowing down locations.
Exactly.
And I'm like, why would you? And it's not like it was 20 years later where technology's advanced.
So it was soon.
It was
before.
a year after, and they're like, oh well, maybe we should get an IT person to
oh my God.
look at the IP addresses. It's Why would you not do that to begin with?
Honestly, some of these like cases, it's so frustrating. Like not all cases, but so many times when you see like the horrible police work, you're just like, how? I didn't even go to like police academy
or like a detective academy. Yeah.
And I would have thought, first thing, track the fucking information.
The first thing that I would do, literally, guys, and I'm not a police detective, I'm nothing, but like if I was working that case,
and it was a stalker case,
and when it was a stalker case, and the mode of stalking was primarily via text and electronic stuff, you can bet I'd get a fucking IT person.
That's
on
the
that.
first thing.
That's the first thing I would do. I'd be like, find out the IP addresses. What number are these coming from? Where's the location? Has there been a GPS that's come from the phone?
That they didn't check. I didn't.
When I literally was yelling, I was like, what the fuck?
So basically, like, I'll tell you one premise, which I won't give away the thing, but basically a woman like keeps messaging this guy, right?
Yeah.
And is like stalking, but this woman is supposed to be missing.
Yeah.
So again, like she's missing. So why are we not figuring out where the fuck she is?
But that was another thing too.
And again, maybe it's like if she's just missing and you're like, okay, you know what? She decided to be missing. It's her choice. Then fine. But if she's stalking someone, I think you can probably track where she is.
Yeah. And also her mom, though, because this woman had gone missing and then she was still stalking this guy's life.
Yeah.
Her mom also, though, her mom was like, this is really fucking weird.
Yeah.
So she put out a missing persons thing, right? Because she's like, I haven't seen my daughter.
Yeah.
Even though her daughter and her daughter's the one that went missing, her daughter had messaged her on Facebook and said, I'm fine. I'm just like, I'm moving out of state or something.
Yeah.
And as a parent, though, she was like, this doesn't seem right. Like you were left your child with me.
Yeah, this is weird.
And still, they were just like,
I don't get it. Yeah, some of the police work, I'm just like, I don't understand.
Oh.
And you know what's crazy about like stalker cases? This kind of shit freaks me out because stalker cases, oftentimes, you know, maybe like this scenario or whatever, it gets like ignored to the point where it only gets like attention once something bad already happened.
This is true. This is even this case, because even in this case, once they kind of narrowed it down to who it was, again, not giving anything away, they were like, oh, we can't. They kept saying they couldn't arrest her and stuff because they didn't have sufficient evidence or whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, literally, you have text messages of her telling you're going to kill people. You have evidence of all of these other things, which I'm not going to say, that she did.
Is it because it wasn't like DNA evidence?
I don't know. They just kept being like, we can't arrest her. And I'm like, you can.
Yeah.
You have proof. What are you doing? They're like, no, we need to like link her to this. And I was like, oh my God. Anyway.
Like so many cases I've seen where like a woman's getting stalked, for example, by this guy. Like she calls in multiple times saying, hey, this guy's doing this. This guy's doing this. And like just like nothing is done. And eventually she ends up dead.
Yep.
And it's just like, oh my God, like people need to take stalking seriously, like especially that kind of behavior.
Because at the end of the day, guys, like stalking is not a normal behavior.
It's not a normal behavior.
Like it's very like, for you to become so obsessed with somebody that you're like stalking their life, like that is dangerous. It's borderline dangerous because that person isn't thinking clearly.
Exactly.
They're in some kind of like stalking trance. I don't know what it is, but like this person that was stalking this guy, the amount of work and effort.
So much went into it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It was crazy. Like she was driving past this guy's ex-wife house, like circling it on a daily.
And that's like the very normal thing that she did compared to some of the other shit she did.
She was like she'd like send him text messages. She'd be watching him the whole time he's at work.
Did she kill her pets or something? Some shit happened.
Rose, don't get too much into it because we don't want to give it away to listeners.
Guys, you gotta watch it.
Yeah, you gotta watch it. She was like, I'm being vague. I'm being purposely vague. She like did so many things that I'm like, literally, like I can barely keep up with like my work and my own personal life versus like fucking stalking somebody.
I mean.
Like
that's another thing.
It's at that next level.
I know.
It's fucking dangerous. People that are doing it, it's generally like, again, I think the person that's initially stalking isn't meant to be malicious, but it becomes malicious. Like it becomes like something else. Because I think really deep down, they just want to have a connection with that person. Maybe.
I don't think it's that simple, Daniel. I think they just have severe mental health issues.
Yeah.
They have violent tendencies. They feel like they have like possessive tendencies.
Yeah.
Like they feel like this person, like how dare they ignore me? How dare they, you know? And they feel like, oh, and oftentimes like if they end up killing the person, it's like, oh, like I'd rather like you die than be with somebody else.
Yes.
So it's not like just, oh, they just want a connection. Like they literally like have so many problems.
Right.
Like, you know, and it is a violent, like stalking itself is so like imagine somebody doing that to you.
Well, and this is the thing, even watching this documentary, Literally at one point, this is why I was like saying to the poor guy, it was crazy. Like imagine somebody for like 2 years, actually I think it went on for 4 years almost, like literally sending you like daily text messages that they're going to like kill you. They're going to kill your ex-wife. They're going to kill your kids. They're going to like.
Did he not report this?
Yeah, it was all reported.
Did he report? Oh, right. Yeah. And they just like never did anything.
Yeah. And like imagine
like, how are we going to find out where these text messages came from?
Exactly. I have no idea. Maybe we should call an IT person. And then on like seriously guys, I was so enraged when like the second part of this docuseries documentary started. I was so shocked because the first thing they did, like, let's get an IT person, and right away, like within like not even like an hour, the guy was like, okay, so I've narrowed down the IP addresses. This is the location of where these.
Oh my god!
And I was like,
they could have literally figured this out in the first week.
Yes.
It's so crazy.
I was like yelling at my TV. But anyway, I do feel like stalking needs to be taken really seriously, and it is very dangerous. And, you know, it also takes a really significant toll on the person that's being stalked's mental health.
I can't even imagine.
Like, imagine someone's texting you, like, and they're like, hey, like right now, imagine someone's like, hey, Rose, I can see you recording with your friend Daniel right now.
Oh my God, I would fucking die.
Be like, oh, you're going to take the dog for a walk soon?
Oh my God,
I'd be like,
so scary.
It would be unreal, unfucking real to have that level of like creepiness.
Invasiveness.
Meanwhile, them saying like, "Oh, I saw you on a date with this guy.
Yeah,
He's gonna pay.
fucking kill you.
I'm gonna kill him first, and I'm gonna and then send you pictures of his like stabbed clothes.
Oh my God, stop. Okay, anyway.
Or pictures when you're walking out of your house, and pictures inside your house.
No, that's so fucking... Daniel, stop. People are listening to this maybe at nighttime.
This is true.
We don't want to scare people, okay?
Hey, you know, I've heard of weird things. Like people like, you know...
Oh, yeah. I mean...
Like crazy shit.
People be crazy, okay?
People would break into someone's house just for their underwear, you know?
Okay, guys. Final story. Daniel's making fun of me.
I am.
Final story.
Yes.
Which Daniel thought was a surprising story, which I don't think it is.
I thought it was surprising, but you're right. Maybe...
But this isn't an old article. But again, to me, this is the most obvious thing in the world.
Yeah.
Polyamory is on the rise, and society should be more accommodating, research argues.
So a new book argues that more needs to be done to support consensual. This is the key, though, consensual non-monogamous relationships.
Well, of course.
Because I feel, and this is my... I think there's a lot of...
hot take?
I have a hot take, guys. I feel like polyamory, when done right, not saying that I know the right way to do it at all, but when done in a kind of consensual, like very adult sort of way, I feel like there's a lot of benefits and it can be a really positive thing for everybody that's involved. What I feel like happens more often than not is like I've seen like these like shows on TV or random shit where like somebody's in a polyamorous relationship because their partner wants to sleep around or be with other people, but also wants to be in a serious relationship, right? So, and I feel like that can cause issues, even if you, I don't know. I just feel like it seems to sometimes be one-sided, you know? Like it's not like...
I don't think consensual is the right word because technically it is consensual if you've allowed it to happen.
That's true.
So consensual is not the right word, but I know what you're saying. They both want, they both
have to
want the polyamorous relationship.
Yeah.
Instead of one party wanting it more than the other or one party pushing it on the other. And so they kind of agree, but do they agree? Do they really agree?
Yeah.
So so consensual is like a tricky word because technically it's consensual. It's not like they're cheating on the partner, you know, but it's kind of like they're almost pushing the partner in that direction. Otherwise, they're probably going to break up with the partner.
Exactly. I think it would just be, for me, my perspective, like, I think there's positives. I mean, especially nowadays, if you think about how expensive everything's getting. Imagine there's 3, 4 of...
I was just trying to figure out where you were going with this.
Well, think about it, Rose. Imagine you have 3 partners. You guys all live together. That's 4 people to split the bills with.
I don't think many people like live, like there are couples like that or thruples or whatever they're called, where there's like literally 3 in a couple. 3 engaged in a romantic relationship. But I think a lot of times, actually, who the fuck knows? Let's see here. Polyamory has been on the rise for some time, despite social and political stigmas surrounding it. But research suggests that such romantic relationships can offer emotional and physical benefits to all involved, which is not surprising to me.
Not a shocker.
I think some people might be shocked, but that's not surprising because I've always said monogamy is a social construct.
Yeah. And that's interesting to think about because we need to think about like before we, I guess, I don't want to necessarily say evolve, but before we got to where we were, when we were living in the wild, like when we were our more animalistic selves, which we're still animals now, but when we were like
Yeah.
out there, you know, out
when we were the cavemen.
When we were the cavemen and stuff. It's interesting to see like what sort of societal relationships did we form back then? Was it, you know, a matriarchal, patriarchal?
Right.
Was it like monogamous? And I'm sure there's research and there's probably articles I could read about this shit. But like, was it typical to have a monogamous partnership back then? Like, I don't know if it necessarily was. I don't think that's in our inherent DNA. Like, it does feel nice that the idea of having a monogamous partner, but at the same time, like, is that what is actually at our core? Like, you know, like some animals, and we talked about this before.
Birds.
There's certain birds that mate for life, and if their partner dies, they never get another mate.
And well, some of them kill themselves.
Exactly. So that's that is in their inherent makeup, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, a lot of, especially like a lot of the primates that the family that we're closest to, none of them are in monogamous relationships.
We're not monogamous by nature.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Like,
because if we were, we wouldn't have a 50% divorce rate, and we wouldn't need something like marriage to essentially force us to be together.
This is actually a really good point, because going back to those birds example, if we were those birds, there would be, you know, you get your mate for life.
So natural.
And guess what? No, there would never be divorces. There'd never be any of that stuff. But you're right. It's not kind of normal. We've just kind of forced it upon ourselves.
So consensual polyamory, having more than one sexual or emotional relationship at once, has become increasingly common in many countries in recent years. According to statistics published in 2021, 4 to 5%. That's pretty high.
That seems very
That's
high.
higher than the vegan population. Oh, Lord. Of the American population practices polyamory. And haven't you noticed, like, on the apps, it's like you see a lot of people that are like I can't remember what the terms are, but basically they're like looking for a third, or
I've seen actually a lot of this.
Or they're already in a couple, but they're, you know, they're dating around. I've seen a lot of it. I feel like there's probably even more in the gay world.
In the gay world,
because people are a little bit more like free. Yeah.
Like every second person on the app is like in a relationship, but looking to open up and
God damn,
and explore.
I mean, you know, if I could do it.
I don't know. Like, maybe, you know what?
It sounds good, but I think it's so ingrained in me, this idea of monogamy.
But I think it's ingrained in us by society, right?
It's a social construct.
It's a social construct that we've built up. So anything outside of that is considered like deviant and like not the norm. And I think our mind is conditioned in such a way that we, you know, for example, we get jealous and we get all this other stuff that, you know, again, are things that have been built into us through watching, you know, oh, Prince Charming get married and they have a beautiful life and they just love each other. They don't talk about how 50% of those Prince Charmings fucking and Queen Charmings or whatever they fucking cheat on each other. They fucking get in divorces. Like, it's like, yeah.
And it's kind of, I think it's great. I think if people, again, if they both agree and they both want to open up the relationship, and oftentimes, again, if it's done right, they say that the relationship is better, like their original primary relationship is better, because the thing is, it's a similar argument to, you know, for example, not just focusing on your romantic relationship. It's kind of similar, right? It's like you're not supposed to try to get everything from one person. So that's why it's important, even if you're in a romantic relationship and even if you're in a monogamous romantic relationship, to not abandon your other friendships, family relationships, and all of those other things.
I know I thought about this too. Like, if I ever dated a guy that was like bisexual, for example, you know, maybe he would come to me and be like, you know,
oh, you've thought about this?
Well, I've roughly thought about it. Not like not in depth, guys, but I'm like, hey, if I started dating someone that was bi, for example, you know, we have a good relationship, we like each other, you know, all this stuff. But then maybe he comes to me and he's like, hey, you know, like, I love you, I want to be with you, but also there's something missing.
The badge.
Exactly. There's something missing in my life that I love the sexual side of it.
Oh, shit.
Not saying I don't want to be with you, but I also want to incorporate that in my life as well. So, I mean, like, who, you know, that's...
And what do you think you'd say?
I don't know. Like, again, I would hope that I would be open-minded.
Whew, that's
but
tough.
I don't know.
That is tough.
That's like if you were dating a bisexual man, Rose,
and he's like, I want some D.
Yeah, I need to get me some D.
I need to get some D.
I guess as long as they're being safe and stuff. I think that's another concern is like once you start having more sexual partners, it's like, are your partners that are in this consensual polyamory, are you all being safe? Because obviously you don't want to get STIs and like all kinds of stuff.
Well, these are I think a lot of people have, like, if they're actually doing this like properly, they'll have like full on discussions and have rules,
ground rules.
Like for example, and polyamory looks different for a lot of people. Again, I learned this through that podcast I used to listen to all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Called guys, if you want to learn all about this topic, listen to the SaVeg Lovecast.
Yeah.
Which is a podcast, and it's very interesting because the host, which is Dan Savage, he's like a gay man in like an open relationship. He's married, and he talks a lot about this topic, and it's really fascinating because I'm like, oh my god. But yeah, there's all these like different rules and different dynamics. Like some people have like a primary partner, so like they look like a couple, but then they'll have like girlfriends or boyfriends like on the side, and or they'll just and they have like various different roles, which is really interesting. But yeah, I mean,
well, you know what I say, I'm struggling already just to get one partner. So like I don't know how much more time and effort once I get a partner that I want to put into getting 3 or 4 more partners.
But you know what they say, like once, how do I say, it's almost like
once you're off the market, everybody wants you.
Exactly.
Everybody wants.
It's like the opposite. Well, like not the opposite. It's like when it rains, it pours, but in a positive way.
Yeah. It's like well, I think it comes down to supply and demand. Like right now, I have a lot of supply. So
no, you have a lot. You have demand. But not the supply chain is a problem.
No, I'm thinking. I'm thinking. Hang on. How do I want to say this? I'm thinking like right now because I'm single, I'm very available, right? Like my supply is generous. I can go on lots of dates. I can do lots of things. So the demand is like, because when supply's up, demand is down.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
My value in the market,
right?
Because think about it like this.
Yes, the more you are in demand, the more people want you, essentially.
Yes. So then all of a sudden I get into a relationship and now my supply is really low. And everyone's like, fuck, I want some of that. He's in a relationship now. Yes. And then people come out of the woodworks.
Exactly. No, it happens all the time.
Yes, it does.
All the time. It's either I'm dating 0 people or 3 people.
Yep. There's never a happy median, you know? And on that positive note, guys, thank you.
Guys, comment below. Are you in a polyamorous relationship? What do you guys think of the polyamorous relationships?
Yes.
I find it fascinating.
Me too.
I kind of wish I could do it.
I mean, you never say never.
You never know.
Yeah.
You know? Who knows?
We could have a you know what? I love the idea of you having that like commune, and we can all just live
and we all just like
have our polyamorous partners, and it's just kind of like a big, fun
big
place.
orgy.
Yeah. Oh, goddamn.
I mean, you know what? Like, we only live once.
YOLO.
What are we doing with one person?
Exactly.
And on that positive note,
thank you so much for watching this episode, guys. As Rose mentioned before, if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, some comments, talk about polyamory, talk about some other of the stories. What do you think about Biden and Trump running?
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Do you think there should be an age limit on the presidential candidacy?
Ageist?
Yeah. Are we being ageist? Are me and Rose not woke enough? I mean, who knows? Also, don't forget to check us out on your favorite podcast platform. If that's where you're listening to us, hit that follow button and you'll get updated as soon as new episodes go live. Yeah. And of course, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/the SaVeg Podcast for lots of exclusive content, ad-free content, and episodes a week earlier than everybody else.
God damn. Thank you so much for listening, guys. And we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.